Hello. Um, I wanted to show you how I go about the forum auctions so that whoever jumps into my spot will see my system and know what's what. If you find you don't have to follow these rules exactly, I'm just going to show you how I do it. Uh, so you're ready to say start a new GAN auction for the week. Presumably this banner is going to be saying GAN winners announced because we had last week's that are done. But right now we have a current GAN going, so it does have that banner up. We're going to go into the GAN section, right? And ideally this is all empty. As things have gotten finished up and added completed to their title, then they can be archived down to the auction archive section. You can archive them as you go, or you can archive multiple ones at a time by clicking over here, choosing Move to, and Auction Archives, and you hit Go. If, say, it's ready to be picked up but hasn't been picked up, you could move it up here. But try to keep this just current stuff. Now, if there's one that a designer hasn't tagged yet, I generally do leave it down here, but it's like a thorn in my side until it's cleared up. All right, so presumably this is empty. Now we're going to set up a new auction. Go to New Topic, and I open a second copy of Creative Infusion. Scroll down to the archive, and I look for a prior GAN so I can copy all the rules and stuff. And the way I've set this up is if it was a GAN auction down here, it'll say winner. If it was a point auction, it'll say sold to. So since I want a GAN auction right now, I'm going to pick one that says winner. And notice that it has the result from the die roll on it. So even though we are going to copy the whole thing, we're going to have to get rid of that line for the new auction. I copy right down to complete set. Most of the time it is a complete set. If it says add only, I copy that too, and I just change it. You can decide, you could just stop copying here and fill it in yourself, but most of the time it's complete set. So put those in there and then remove that line. Now I need an AV. So I open a third copy of Creative Infusion. And I scroll down to the contributions thread. So under designer contributions, you'll see a number of threads. These are for ones that I've already used and pulled out of the current drop-off threads just because these threads were getting way too bulky. This is for pre-mades, which Marilyn takes care of. So these are the two that you'll be concerned with. So we're doing a GAN, so we go to the GAN contribution drop-off. And what we're going to look for is AVs that haven't been used already. So here's a contribution from Satin. We scroll down, we see there's an AV only, and then there's a complete set. And then at the bottom it says both used. So I know that those aren't available, so I keep scrolling. Here's a mail from Satin. She pretty much saves our butt every week. And that set is there, and hasn't been used because there's no note. So I can go ahead and snag that guy and drop him in. Now you've got it all ready to go, but for the title, which you need to add in, and it'll be Satin, January 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay? Now, because I don't want anybody to see this thread while I'm making the video, I'm just going to call it test, so nobody tries to bid on it. But it should say Satin blah, 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 and the close date posted. I put the 7 p.m. so no one can bitch. And there we have that first GAN auction. So we'd be adding, I try to do 5. Sometimes I can only scrape together 4, but I try to do 5 a week. So that test one is there, and we need to go back to our contribution thread, modify and mark at the bottom that has been used. I generally make it big and in red so that I don't miss it, right? Red 14, and now it will show me that I've used it. But we haven't actually used it, so I'm not going to do that. After this one, I would scroll down to look for another, and in this case, there's no more contributions on the thread. So now I'm looking for perhaps some of my own that I can put in there. It's been hard to get GAN stuff together, and I'll leave it up to you to decide how to handle that. But I can go over to one of my own and say I want to contribute this one. So I can say, okay, I'm going to do this, and I know it's a set. So I'm going to go over here, new topic, and I'm showing you two because I want to show you why I'm leaving this open. So I already know now it's a Paula Brunette set, so I can put that in there. Closes January 7 p.m. Eastern, and I drop the av in. Sometimes I do that. I find the av, I drop it in, and then I go back and add the rules. And that's what I've done here. So code it, add a couple lines. Now I go back to my modified message and I copy it again. Now it still has that die rolled line in it that needs to be removed. You could open the first test one instead of this one and copy the rules from there so you don't have the die rolled line in there anymore. But I've never bothered to do that because I find it faster just to get rid of this than to take the time to reopen the first thread. All right, so it is a complete set, so that's fine. And preview that, and we have our set ready to go. And I would then post this one, but in this case, I don't want anybody to bid on it either. I'm going to do that. So you do that for all of them, making sure that if you use a contribution, you mark it used, and then you come back and you each time clicking over here, copy, right click, copy, get rid of the die rolled line, and now you have your 5 auctions, say. So then at the end of the auction, you go back in, and here's what I do. I go to the end without looking at anything, and I reply. I'm going to hit this little roll dice that's rolling, dice roll, and it'll put the coding in, and in between you want to say you want 1 die with 500 sides. That will give you a number between 1 and 500. If you remember to return to this topic, you won't have to open it again. I usually don't remember. But anyway, in this case I did. So now I can look at the result, and the answer is 158. So now I go to the top, still without looking at anything, any of the bids, and I say die rolled 138. Change the color to yellow, size to 18, make it nice and big, and I save. So now I scroll through and look at the bids and find the one that's closest without going over. And when I found that person, I go to the bottom and say it was Way that won. I'd say, congrats, Way. Now, if in her bid she put her info, I'd go info and I'd copy and paste her info in. If there was no info or it said will PM, then I put over here, please PM. Damn it. Satin, your info so she can get this tagged for you. And post. Lastly, I go back in one more time, modify the title, and put the name of the winner. Winner. Okay. Save. Then I go on to the other 4. If at some point you realize Satin hasn't noticed this win and it's been a few days and it's still sitting there, I'll use the mentions mod to do that. you say, like I'll say, gentle nudge to, you put the @ sign and then the name of the member, and that will pop up a member's name. And I'll just leave it that, gentle nudge to Satin. She'll know what we need, and I'll post it. That will send her a PM saying, leading her to this thread. I'm sure you both have had them. If it's that hasn't been picked up, I'll put nudges that way to help her collect her win, or whatever I'm going to say, and post, and it'll send her the PM. You can't use it for anybody whose name doesn't start with a letter. So like Dieters and Christy and anybody with lines, dashes, dots, you can't use it. You'll have to PM them if they don't get around to picking it up. So as they collect them, I'll go in and add completed to the title or ready for pickup. Just keep an eye on them until they're all cleaned up, and then you'll be able to archive them and put them away. I did forget to mention again, though, when you first set this up, you're going to go into admin and you're going to modify the board. So you'll forum board modify down to the GAN auction section, and you're going to change out the banner. So it's going to swap back and forth between GAN auctions up now and GAN winners called. So presumably this would be the winners called one at this point. You're going to take this out and put the auction, new auction up banner instead. I'll make sure you guys have those banners from me, or you're welcome to make your own. Mine are been around a while and kind of boring. So anyway, you change them and then you save. Now after you've called all the winners, you're going to come back in here again and swap it out to be winners called banner. If sometimes I get it all cleaned up by Wednesday and it's going to be empty for 5 days, I just get rid of it. Just leave the coding in place so that when you come back, all you have to do is right click here and drop in the code again. It doesn't hurt it at all. If you save it like this, it doesn't cause it to have any extra coding on the page. It just gets rid of the banners so we use less room on the board. Okay, so I think that's everything that's important. If you have any questions, I will be around. Just let me know. And if you find a more efficient way of doing this, I'd love to hear it. Thanks, guys.